I'm joined today by Thomas Cohan, who's professor of work and employment relations at MIT's Sloan School of Management and also co-director of the MIT Institute for Work and Employment Research. He's the author of the book, Shaping the Future of Work. The book is fascinating, and in the book, you talk about the reality that we've had sort of trials and tribulations with regard to employment and labor and work forever, for as long as we can remember. But you're particularly concerned now. What do you see as sort of different about the status quo of labor and work that distinguishes today from past issues that there have been?
Well, I think today we're suffering from the effects of 30 years of stagnant wages, where productivity and profitability of business has been growing, but we seem to be losing our ability to improve wages and the standard of living of ordinary workers. So I'm worried particularly about the next generation. We're not creating enough good quality jobs to keep up with changes in technology and to keep up with globalization. So we've got to redouble our efforts to create good jobs so the next generation doesn't have a lower standard of living than we enjoyed.
So there's a few different areas to sort of unpack and explore there. I mean, first of all, as far as you mentioned the increased productivity, but also the concentration of the sort of fruits of that additional productivity not going to sort of the average worker. So is this a sort of wealth inequality conversation that needs to be had, that increasingly workers are producing more and more, but that it is those at sort of the top of corporations that are the beneficiaries by and large of that additional productivity?
Well, David, that's the story that is all over the press, and for good reason, because it's accurate. 60% or more of the wealth created in the last couple of decades has gone to the top 1% of corporate executives or people who own shares of corporation and other capital. So we've got to address this inequality. It's just not sustainable in our country. And we're seeing that in the current political environment, in the campaigns. And yet, the good news is there's lots of things we can do. There are a lot of companies that are competing on the basis of high productivity and high wages and good jobs. There are more CEOs today who are worried about these issues and are listening to ideas for improving their organizations as places to work while still being productive and profitable. Government leaders and politicians are all coming along with their proposals to increase the minimum wage and to get wages moving and to invest in training and to invest in economic growth through infrastructure and so on. All of these are steps in the right direction. We just have to have a national movement to reinforce these ideas and to encourage more innovation and to hold accountable those who are not respecting our workforce today by violating labor laws, beating unions left and right, rather than working with unions as partners. So there are good things happening and a lot more that needs to be done.
I'd love to get your thoughts, though, on, points taken on all of the good things happening and sort of suggestions and possibilities that you're outlining. There's this sort of broader context that I'd love to get your thoughts on, and we've been doing a number of interviews on this. Technology experts and technology historians have pointed out increasingly in recent years that in the last couple hundred years of sort of human society, anytime there was a significant technological advancement, the number of new jobs that were created by virtue of that technology far exceeded the number of jobs that were destroyed by the creation of that same technology. And a number of technology experts are saying we are now at the point where technology net is destroying jobs, that the job creation due to new technology is going to be far dwarfed by the jobs destroyed by new technology. Is that sort of a broader issue in your mind that goes above and beyond the minimum wage or individual companies taking steps to create jobs?
It's a very important issue. And I'm right in the middle of those 2 points of view. Yes, the historians are right that we have created more jobs through technological change than we have destroyed. And obviously, as we make those transitions, people are hurt. Some people lose jobs, they don't have the skills, they need to be retrained, or somehow we need to have a safety net for them. And then the technologists who study what's going on today are also probably right that we're going to see more jobs destroyed in the future if we just let the status quo continue. If we don't take action to invest in more infrastructure development, if we don't expand our economy, if we don't invest in all the new renewable energy alternatives that are out there and waiting for opportunities for innovation and growth, then we probably will see more displacement in the future than we have in the past. But all of that's under our control. I don't believe for a moment that technology is going to doom us inevitably. We can address these issues, but we've got to take action to train the workforce to address the skill needs of the next generation of manufacturing and innovation in services, to make sure that we prepare the workforce of the future with lifelong learning so they can make the adjustments to changes in technology, and then build the institutions that encourage innovation that is inclusive. That is, we want to really get the next generation of inventors and technological experts to think about how we can address these big problems in society with advances in technology. And by doing so, create new occupations, new jobs, and we will do just fine. But it takes a lot of concerted effort and a shared vision for the future of the economy and a shared vision for the future of technology. Then we will make these adaptations.
Let's drill in a little bit more into the micro and some of the specifics you discuss in the book. I think a lot of people generally understand at least the concept that you can pay higher wages and still be profitable, because oftentimes you have a far lower rate of turnover when you pay higher wages. You have more engaged employees. And a sort of popular example of this is Costco versus Walmart. Costco with a significantly higher average wage, still a very profitable company. So let's first talk about the sort of specifics of that. Do we have examples as to whether the savings in terms of reduced turnover and higher productivity when you pay higher wages really are justified? And what data do we have about whether that sort of general idea that we may all understand, does that actually work in practice?
It works in practice. We have been doing research on this with our students and colleagues around the country for the last 25 years. And you can go in every industry. In airlines, you can identify Southwest and a few other, the old Continental in the 1990s, and increasingly some of the emerging airlines that use high performance strategies that outcompete their counterparts with higher productivity and our ability to pay wages that are industry above industry average. In healthcare, Kaiser Permanente has a partnership with its employees and its unions. It has industry leading wages, and it's one of the leaders in healthcare and healthcare innovation, in improving its revenue and its profitability, and in using advanced medical technologies better than anyone else. In retail, you mentioned Costco. In the Northeast here, we have examples of companies like Roach Brothers, companies like Wegmans, companies like Market Basket that demonstrated to all of us in New England 2 years ago that it revolted when they tried to take away the good company service, good customer service, the low prices, the high productivity, and the good jobs. And they succeeded in convincing the community and convincing their board of directors that they had to keep that business model. So we can find these examples in every industry. The challenge is spreading those to become the norm rather than the exception.
Well, I was going
So
to say,
it is
why wouldn't every business be doing this if it truly
because
saved money, right? I mean, it's not like a secret strategy.
it's not a secret strategy, but there's two ways to make money.
Yeah.
There's the traditional way of treating labor as a cost and minimizing labor costs and keeping everything under control. That's kind of the management paradigm that still is taught in business schools as maximizing shareholder value and don't worry too much about the other stakeholders. Or you can take the Costco or the Southwest or the Market Basket strategy or the Kaiser Permanente strategy and say our responsibilities are not only to return value to the owners of our business, but also to create good jobs. So it's a choice. There's no single best way. Both models can be successful. In some industries, it's harder to be the high road employer than the low road employer because there isn't quite the margin that's available. But in industries from retail to manufacturing to healthcare to others, even in apparel and textile, you can find companies that within the constraints of the reality of the industry, they have better jobs and good performance. But you can also get that good performance in traditional ways. So there's no magical formula that says one is necessarily better for shareholders than the other. It's clear that one is better for both shareholders and employees. And so we need to look to building those kinds of good companies that also provide good jobs. And then we need public policies that are updated to encourage those good companies, good jobs, organizations, and to raise the floor on minimum labor standards of wages and sick leave and family leave and safety and health and labor relations so that we reduce the incentive to be a low road employer and reward those that go for more high road strategies.
Well, there's a great discussion of this in the book, Shaping the Future of Work. We've been speaking with the book's author, Thomas Keohane, professor of work and employment relations at MIT's Sloan School of Management. Very, very interesting. Thanks so much for talking to me about it.
Thank you, David. Keep up the good work.